Hey, so welcome to kind of a new format where we're breaking this episode up into two episodes, mainly because we wanted to do justice to the entire conversation. Uh, Part one, which you're about to listen to, is the background of Chef Ariel. Wonderful person to talk to. Really enjoyed our conversations. And then part two, which is going to be released right behind this one, is a very important topic to all chefs. And if it's not for you, it kind of should be. Over the last 20 years working in restaurants, I met a lot of really interesting people. Bourdain called us pirates and misfits, and he couldn't be more right. We really were, I say were, we are a hodgepodge of cultures and backgrounds, and we get to play with food all day, and we get to make a living doing that, and it's pretty damn awesome. This is what Inside the Pressure Cooker is all about. It's about making some new friends and sharing some stories with some old friends. And listen, we all know that life inside a kitchen is not for everyone. We've seen plenty of people come and go that thought they could hack it, and they couldn't. It really does take a special someone not only to survive, but to really thrive in an environment of just what feels like complete fucking chaos, but it's pretty damn controlled. And then just the constant pressure and the stupid hours you put in, not to mention it can be a very thankless job. Before you know it, it's all in your blood, and it's the only thing you know, and you need more. It's an addiction. This is the bond that all line cooks and chefs share. It's becoming the heartbeat of the kitchen, as cliche as that fucking sounds. But it's in our blood, which means it's fucking pulsing through our veins. And it's what we live for. This is Chad Kelly, and I've been slinging pans for over 25 years. And in that time, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of many successful kitchen teams, many of which I had the privilege of leading. And during those final few years of my career, I found that my passion was not only just in cooking, but it was the people, and it was mentoring the next generation of chefs.
You cannot create if you have no idea what you're talking about. If you don't understand, if you don't walk your kitchen, how can you create something if you don't walk your kitchen and if it's not doable for the crisis of service? So those are the things that I was, I've been learning and took me when and lately when I was the last, my last head chef positions that I did. So that's I think it's the definition of chef. I mean, just not create, but create something that it's doable.
So, what is a chef to you? To me, the definition is pretty simple. But for some reason, it can be a hot topic to some people. Because it's like not everybody can call themselves a chef. And it's like, hey, it's a title of honor. It's also a title of respect. So it's okay to occasionally call somebody a chef, regardless of their status. If their passion is there and their heart's there, then fuck it, it's okay. I mean, and if you're that worried and that pretentious about who's a chef and who's not, I can just relax. Okay, nobody's stealing any of your glory. All right. But honestly, that for me, a chef is someone that is a leader in a kitchen, someone that creates as well as executes. And here shortly, you're going to listen with audio about his kind of rise in the culinary world in the Mediterranean and his experience with chefs, that could create but couldn't execute, and him finding his place being a chef that was creating and executing. So, what is your definition? Hey, quick interruption before we jump on to the rest of this. Two things. First, there's a link in the show notes that, well, it's not really a link, it's my email. Please, I want to hear some feedback from y'all. What do you love? What do you not love? This is how I learn. And the second part, I've set up a Patreon account for this podcast. The link is also in the show notes below. Please, if you're able to, we would love any contribution you're able to support us with. We all have costs that we need to try to cover with this show, and any support would be greatly, greatly appreciated.
You're based in the States, right?
Yeah, I'm in Dallas area, North
So
Texas. Yeah.
so I don't know how it's there, but the situation here of the industry in Malta and in Europe itself in general, it's a disaster. You know what I mean? So
Well, Chef, let's start. Give me your 30-second elevator pitch. Like, who is Chef Ariel?
uh, so I have to say that I never call myself a chef. I still consider myself a self-taught. I start. The thing is, I started professionally cooking only 10 years ago, and uh, and very fast because the place where I lived, there were mainly small places, so I grew very fast in the industry, and I became head chef very fast because of probably lack of people, and once someone does normal things or a bit better than the normal, and someone is hungry to to learn. So I climb up in the steps very fast. So that's the thing. I never consider myself. I never say Chef Ariel, although everyone calls me chef, which is very funny. I need to take this down. Wait a second. Sorry.
I just did the same thing.
I just let me.
No, I get it. Because for me, I mean, I've been cooking for 20 odd years, and I've done everything from fast food to fine dining. And but in my heart, I'm a cook,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
I'm just a cook.
I because the thing is, I always say that a cook, a chef, might not be a cook. You know what I mean? I know many chefs that they cannot hold the service. They're fantastic chef. They're fantastic chef. Ideas and maybe from the other side of the pass, but don't put them inside on the line because they can't hold it. And I saw it by myself. People that uh, you know I had once a guy, an executive chef, that he was fantastic on ideas and developing of menus, but he was literally not able to. He was forgetting this. He could forget the steak inside the oven, or the pasta timer, things like that. You know what I mean? So
That's not bad. I mean, if you can't execute it, then how do you plan
no,
on
I don't
creating it?
know. But that's the thing. I saw that many times. People that they were fantastic chefs, creativity on excellent. They could do it without the pressure, but once the pressure of service start, they couldn't handle it. They just couldn't handle it.
Oof. Well, for me, the definition of chef would be more someone that can both create and execute. Because to be able to create, you've got to be able to execute and know how things are going to execute. And if something happens, you got to be able to get in there.
Yeah, yeah, and,
So
and and you need to understand that what you are creating can be done. It's doable according to the situation, to the kitchen that you have, because that's many things. I,
right.
I have a funny story. I lived. First of all, I started I born in Argentina.
Hmm.
The age of 19, I decided to move to Israel. I'm a Jewish guy, and I moved to Israel. Did the army, and I was working for the government. To be honest, as in the defense ministry, nothing related to food. And my wife works in iGaming industry, and so basically all these online casinos and sports bets and things like that. And she got a relocation offer to move to Gibraltar, which is the small, tiny British colony in South Spain.
Yep.
And then I find myself actually in a small, very tiny place with an empty CV, because obviously whatever I did in the army slash defense ministry was not on my CV for obvious reason, and I didn't know what to do. Oh, so I always like to cook, and so I signed up for a reality in Gibraltar, which is probably 0.5% of the budget of a normal reality in any country.
Right.
And I finished a runner up, and one of the judges took me in, and I start making chips, frying chips, and peeling potatoes and frying chips, and giving side dishes, and then cold starters, and then from managing the starters, and then doing the desserts, and then starting on desserts, and then on sauce, and then and eventually after about a year and a half I became head chef in another restaurant, in a pub. And funny enough, I worked in the pub for about 8 months. I have a discussion with the owner that, they didn't want to pay, so I didn't
Mm.
have people. So he was telling me, the pub was not full, and he was telling me, people are not coming, and I was blaming him. I said, listen, bring the people. That's your job. You bring the people. Once the people are inside, I make them happy. And that's happened. My side is happening. No, if you don't pay the guys, I will end up being okay. You want me to work alone? I can do everything. Yes. So I'm in the past. I'm in sauce. I'm in fries. And I wash the dishes as well. But
Oof.
but then there is a limit how many people I can feed. So
Yeah.
so eventually I left, and then a cook came in, kind of, someone who accepted very low money.
Sure.
And I saw the ideas, and eventually I told the guy, listen, do you see the kitchen that we have? And he was telling me, yes, yes, no, but we can do this, we can do that. And I said, like, mate, you won't be able. Like, listen, you, the size of the oven has the size of my hand. I mean, there is a limit how many. You can put some burgers because they're small. They can put like
Sure.
4 or 5 burgers, fair enough. And then on the plancha do the other ones. But you can't have fish al sale, which is whole fish with salt crust. It doesn't fit.
No, it
So
doesn't even fit a pub either.
exactly, exactly. So eventually, what I'm saying is, back to the chef.
Right.
You cannot create if you have no idea what you're talking about. If you don't understand, if you don't walk your kitchen, how can you create something if you don't walk your kitchen and if it's not doable for the crisis of service? So those are the
Hmm.
things that I was, I'm been learning, and took me when and then lately when I was the last, my last head chef positions that I did. So that's I think it's the definition of chef. You know what I mean? Just
Sure.
not create, but create something that it's doable.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to be one with the restaurant.
Yeah,
I mean, you've
exactly.
got to, yeah. And yeah, you've got to be as much a part of it as it's a part of you.
Yeah, it has to be your
Um,
baby. It has to be your baby.
yeah.
I mean, I understand.
For
I
better
know,
or for worse,
but that's
in
the truth.
sickness and in health.
That's the thing. The problem is that here comes the other thing, and it's when the owners that in many times, I'm not going to say most, but in many times, they have no clue, and they're just business people, and
Yep.
and they don't understand. And then you eventually, because we chefs, we we consider the cooking so more like it's not just a job. It's a job. It's a hobby. It's a passion. It's something that represents us. So we end up overworking, underpaid, and the default becomes that, yeah, you need to be here 12, 13, 14 hours. Why not? Which is, you know what I mean? I remember once someone told me, well, you will have 1.5 days leaves. And I said, one and a half. What is half? Yeah, you just come in the morning. You just come in the morning. You know what I mean?
That's not half. That's a day. That's
You
you're
know what I
working.
mean? But that's the
Yeah.
thing. But in the industry, that some people were saying, yeah, that's 1.5 day because you don't do split shift. You just come in the morning. And in my head was like, no, dude, you're wrong here. You know what I mean? You're wrong. You can't say that. So
Oh no, I get you. Your last spot was where you're cooking. Was that Dinner in the Sky?
yes, that was
Okay,
my last job as head chef.
man, tell me about that.
That's crazy. Basically, that could be probably the most logistic complicated thing that I ever did because it is an outside catering in terms of the organization,
Yeah.
but it's an outside catering based on another outside catering because you end up you arrive to the place, at least here in Malta. I don't know how it is along in like 50 countries, and I'm sure that each country is different. I mean, I saw Michelin star chefs cooking in the sky. So we didn't get a star because we only operated for 6 months. So I assume that one of the criteria is, being an ongoing restaurant. But in Sky here in Malta, during winter you cannot do it. In fact, even during summer, sometimes there is, since it's an island, there is so the wind doesn't let you go up. But in any case, so basically, back to how to create a menu. So the first, I did 2 years. I did 2 years. Well, the first year I was just, I was hired just to deliver the service. So I was receiving all the food, preparations and everything, and I was just, delivering the service. And then we won several prizes, and they believed that something, most of them or some of them, they were related to me, and they offered me take over everything, all the cooking and logistics and everything from that. So we're talking about the first thing I did was create a menu. So I needed to, again, since I had already experience, I understand how the kitchen is. So I changed completely the menu. As I give you an example, the first year everything was hot. So I spoke to my executive chef and told him, listen, let's think, let's focus on plating. We are giving fine dining experience. People are paying a lot of money and they're seeing us, and what they see, they want to see what they see on YouTube or what they see on TV. They want to see fancy stuff. They want to see plating. They want to see all this show that we did. So basically, I changed the starts as we moved it to cold. So everything was pre-done. So I was just needed to take it and plate it. So I was focusing more on the plating. So people were, the first impression was the wow, the show. And then, so we also created the whole option, vegan option. So we had,
Nice.
yeah, because we expanded the menu to two different options of starters. So we had an amuse-bouche was a molecular sphere, a cocktail in a sphere made with calcic and all these things. And then we had two type of starters, which was so we had one with fish, one vegetarian, or was vegan, in fact. So we could cater for anyone. And then we had a palate cleanser, which also we did vegan. And then we had four different main courses. So we had fish, we had a bird, we had a beef, and we had a vegan option, a vegetable option. And then we have a dessert, which was also gluten free, was lactose free, and then but had eggs. So for the vegans, we used to do fruit salad. So basically, think that I'm talking about two starters. So sphere, two starters, cleanser, four four main
Four
courses,
minutes.
and dessert, plus potatoes and vegetables for the side dishes.
Sure.
That for 22 people twice, so it's 44. Friday,
Hmm.
Saturday, Sunday, plus extra of everything, just in case someone changed, someone this, that, I don't know, whatever it is. So,
Yeah. Plus, you're executing all this at 40 meters up.
well, that's the thing, and that you need to execute all that. Yes, 50 meters above, hanging in a crane with a small home oven and
Okay.
two burners, because the other two in the back were more to place stuff like spoons and things like that.
Okay. So you had
That
just a little tiny oven, and
that's
then
the small oven where you need to warm up your plates as well. So
okay.
because it's again because we
Yeah.
go
Sure.
because we find it's fine dining. So that's why the first thing I thought was starters need to be cold, because then
You need the room.
it's impossible. So basically, so it's that. So you have I used to go there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Used to work about 16 hours every day, plus during the week all the preparations, all the orders. I was doing all the orders, all the preparations, and obviously I have my staff and everything, but it's really 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 tough. I mean, you need the pre-order of the food, because people they need to pre-order.
Hmm.
Many times there is no pre-order. Many times, and then you need to have just in case for everything.
Yeah. What happens when extra people show up? I mean, you only got 22 seats, though.
No, it's that. Yes, but when you have an owner like the one that I used to have, I mean, I remember once. I think I wrote you once was, there were the full service, 22 seats, and
Yeah.
then the owner came, and then he said, "Oh, I brought some two friends," and we were like, "But no, don't worry, don't worry." So basically, imagine a table, okay, around, and
Hmm.
inside, in the middle, you have me, another chef, the host, okay, and on the sides you have waiters to serve the people in the corner. So
Okay.
the owner decided that he comes up with the two guests. So the two guests standing up next to the waiters on the side. Okay. So I basically I needed to have food for 25 because I need to give him as well, even if he said no. So start thinking about how fragile are all those cocktail spheres.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I need to have for everyone. Okay. One. Food, portions. There is a limit how many the tray, for example, for the fish, we had tray of, there is a limit how many, well, like that,
Yeah.
like this,
Just
always. Or for example,
everything
one,
just goes out the window.
yeah, no, not only that, how many times, I was serving a fish, and then the guy next to, what the, I don't know, let's say, or the lady ordered, I don't know, beef. And,
Yeah.
and then was like, wow, the fish looks amazing. Can I have the fish instead of the beef? 40 meters, hanging in the crane, food hot already, everything's there. If you want anything, it's down there. You need to bring it cold. So all portions, there were always one or two extra,
Just for that reason.
just for that reason. So food cost, it needs to super tight,
Right.
super controlled, because otherwise, you spend too much. And then one day I used to do beef short ribs,
Hmm.
sous vide and then slow cook. It was very 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 tender, and I end up having, I think it was the day that the owner brought another two guys, so I had extra beef, but I didn't have enough, obviously. There was already all warm, all ready to go up. So one of the pieces was too big, So I cut it in half somehow so they don't see me. And from one, I made two. And again, I'm going to say that again, 40 or 50 meters hanging in a crane. And the distance between me and the guest is, I don't know, 50 centimeters, 60, the size of of a table, 60 centimeters. They see everything. You can't hide. And once the chef who was with me, somebody asked for the fish, no sauce, and then he was a bit, I don't know, and then he put sauce everywhere, and I'm like, look, I said, one no sauce. Put it, so you see, he's putting now. Change the plate, put the plate in the oven, take the fish, scrap the sauce, flip it so they don't see. You know what I mean? And then make another, boom, and send. Like that, hundreds. Yeah, one of my once they brought once the same owner. Don't take me wrong. The owner he was also a chef and everything, and he's a fantastic businessman. And I don't know, personally, I don't have anything against him. The opposite, I'm still in touch with him and everything. One day he brought a 2 Michelin star chef from Singapore. He was visiting Malta. And they decided to do something together, blah blah blah. And one day before, I got to know that he will come to do the service with me in the sky. Now, with all what I'm telling you, you can understand that if you never been in a service in dinner in the sky, it is super complicated for me to explain you, because everything's timed. Everything's time wise. There is the service is 1.5 hours. The service is 1.5 hours. Then I have 20 minutes in between the first and the second one to set up again, and then another 1.5 hours. So if for any reason there is a delay, I'm not going to say the word, but I'm fucked. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I was looking at that too. I mean, like being 40, 50 meters up in a very small space, you've got everything preset. You only got an hour and a half to execute, you know.
And everything's timed. Like, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 5-course meal plus we used to do at the end nitrogen limoncello. So we used to do like a sorbet with liquid nitrogen as a show. So it's kind of a 6-course meal in 1.5 hours, hanging in the air. And I needed to explain to a 2 Michelin star restaurant guy, to a chef, who probably last time he was in a service like that was when he was, I don't know, 15.
Yeah, right.
The guy has a restaurant with 5 tables. That's what he knows. And I needed to brought him to the mud. But listen, mud, really the mud. And we succeed. At the end, we succeed. And the guy sat down and told me after, in between the services, he was sitting and eating the leftovers and blah, blah, blah. And, stuffed food and things like that. And then eventually he told me, I don't understand how you do this. I really don't know how you do that. And I told him, well, I just show you how.
It's impressive.
It is very difficult. Yes, it is very difficult. But hey, it was done. It passed. It gave me a reputation here in Malta. It gave me the courage to understand that at the end, it's just food. It's just food. It's not life or death. It's just food. We need to do all the best. And I have to say that this owner, that he's in all details of all his restaurants, he only came to visit 6 times in 6 months. And when I asked him why he's not coming, he told me I don't need to go. So, you know what I mean? So that's all on me at the end of the day. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's when the owners come to you and tells you, when, because at the end I ask for more money. I asked, first of all, I told him, let me take over. Okay, I show you, I proved you. Let me take over everything. I do all the organization. Let's bring another chef. I do, I'm not taking a step back, but the opposite. I will take care of everything, and I need more money and blah 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 blah. And then it's when they said, no, but you don't need your money. You enjoy what you're doing. So it's like you work from something that you like. So you're not working, you're enjoying. It's your hobby. It's like, and then
Yeah, you don't pay the bills with a hobby.
no. But that then it's. I mean, I had another offer on my table, and this is when I said, okay, thank you, but I'm going. I'm going to another place. So that's the
It
truth.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And in fact, and they understand, and they understood. And I was lucky enough to do that in January 2019. So imagine.
Yeah. The timing was there.
The timing was there. The timing was there. I could have been 2 years or 2.5 years without a job, and forget it, because I was not. I didn't want to go back to the kitchen, as you know, as we said, go back. I'm already 40. Go back to the shift and things like that with the family. It's not the ideal.
No, not at all.
No.
So, I mean, how did COVID impact Malta?
I have to say that the impact here was very low. Um, at the beginning, yeah, things, they were locked, they were closed, blah blah blah. But we were never in a completely lockdown.
Okay.
We could, go out here and there. I'm not talking about like traveling things like that. Also, again, it's an island, so there isn't anywhere to go. The government gave out vouchers to spend in the local industry, in local businesses. That helped. Most of the restaurants, even including fine dining and including Michelin star restaurants, they turned into takeaway. They used to, send takeaway with instructions on how to reheat or things like that.
Yep.
I tried them all. It was no good. I don't know. Yeah, it was no good. I know that in the state it happened. I mean, I follow Alinea and other things, and I know that Grant was doing the videos on how to reheat and regenerate the food that was sending. And look, even for me, which I don't really need instructions, to be honest, to regenerate
Right.
a meal, it was not done correct. It's very hard. I mean, in my opinion, they needed to go lower, but then if you have a Michelin star restaurant, you can't not send the food that is expected. So
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if I'd expect a Michelin star experience in food if I'm ordering it all takeaway.
I agree, but on the other hand, that's what people were expected. Like, okay, I'm ordering from, for example, Noni, which is they have one Michelin star restaurant here, and I know the chef. He's an amazing guy. He also was on my thesis as I interview him,
Okay.
and he was trying to deliver as a takeaway with instructions, with everything, and put the oven and like this and blah 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 and simplify. But at the end, you know what I mean. It's not there. It's not the experience. Is not there. So I think they should have go to what I
Right.
believe it's the best, which is simple food tasting. Just simple food, local product, and do it tasty. That's it.
Yeah, because at that point too, people just wanted comfort,
Yeah,
right? Whether it's through the food and everything else, it's just they needed something more
yeah.
soul warming and stuff. So it didn't have to be fancy.
No, I agree. Now the thing is in Malta, in terms of the industry, the funny thing is that, and I enter in a few details of my dissertation, is that during COVID, most of the people turn into the local, to the farmers and mainly to the local farmers and the local market grew and people were buying and things like that. As soon as the border opens, everything went back as it was. It's incredible. The same people that they used to go to the farmer, they kept going, but all the new guys back to the comfort life of supermarkets or big chains or
As soon as the convenience came back.
Convenience. Yes. Still, I think the takeaway food grew exponentially, and it's incredible the amount of people ordering food from home, but normal food, like normal takeaway stuff, burgers, pizza, pasta, maybe, which is weird. I don't know who ordered pasta from takeaway, but anyway, but it's going to be overcooked, like. But anyway, so you know what I mean. But then what happened is that a lot of these takeaway apps, they added grocery by fishmonger, butcher, everywhere. You from the app you can buy all your groceries. You can buy your, all the supermarkets turn into online shopping, online buying. A lot of farmers supposedly they turn into the online selling as well. Although back again, if you go online and it says, I don't know, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but if you say local farmers from Malta, why you're selling bananas? I mean, how can you sell a banana if you're a local farmer, or mango? I mean, we're still in the Mediterranean. Where are you bringing the mango from?
Yeah, no, we get that here, and it's kind of almost a running joke with like the farmers market in our area. It's like it doesn't actually have any actual farmers from the area. I mean, it might have someone. I mean, I don't think there's any produce. We might have some local chickens, the honey. There might be one or two small ranchers, but that's it. But I mean, the market itself is fairly large. And it's stall after stall after stall of all the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's all produce from whether it's Mexico or Florida or wherever it's coming from at that time. And it looks beautiful, but it's like this isn't a local thing. There's no locavore.
Here, the farmers market, it is 100% local. That's for sure. But it's only physically. They don't sell online. Now, the people selling online, they're telling you, yes, the farmers, and I know them. That's the thing. I know them, but they are. I give you an example. With the academy where I teach, one of our workshops is olive harvesting, and we create our own olive oil. The Maltese indigenous olive, which is thousands of years old. The name is Bitney. That's the type of oil of olive. And obviously I know the farmers. And the funniest thing is that the farmer that I speak to, his cousin is one of the biggest importers of fruit and vegetables for supply retail. And I'm asking him why he's not selling local. I was in the restaurant or in where I worked. I was managing a whole office, a payment solution office that they have a canteen for the employees. So I was managing everything, including the canteen. And I was buying from this guy who's the cousin of the farmer of the olive, and he's not selling any local things. And I was asking him, is your cousin? You have a lot of things. There is Why he's not offering local? Why? Or you know what? Why he's not? Let's say that he wants to be imported. I don't know. I mean, I know why, because those are the conclusion of my dissertation. But at least favor the local product over the importer. I mean, I can't understand in an island so small that a cauliflower from abroad costs you less than a cauliflower from here. Now I understand it, okay, because there is not enough. Okay, but if there is not enough, sell whatever it is, and that's it, done. But can't be that importing something it's so much it's cheaper than bringing that growing it here. That I can't understand that.
How's that for a cliffhanger, huh? So we're going to pick up this conversation in part 2. Jump onto that one when you've got the time. And thank you for listening to this episode of Inside the Pressure Cooker. If you enjoyed this episode and feel like you're able to take something away from it, please go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review us. If you don't use Apple Podcasts, please follow us, as well as share this episode with a friend. This is a publication by Rare Plus Media, hosted and produced by me. From Rare Plus Media and myself, Chad Kelly, thank you for listening. Keep kicking ass.